Welcome to the Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365, part of the Action Network. I am Chad Millman, Chief Content Officer of the Action Network. We are continuing our division previews as we have been doing for the past couple of weeks. Today, we are doing the most inconsequential division in all of football. The one division where I say every single season, does anybody outside of the city or the region care about these teams? But you know what? They're in the NFL. We're going to bet them. We're going to make ugly bets on a lot of these teams. You guys know what I'm talking about. We are talking about the AFC South. I am joined, as I am in every episode, by my BFF, my companion, my compadre, professional bettor, Mr. Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Aloha, Chad. What a weekend. Look at us starting the season both 1-0 on our picks.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah. So that was nice. Then I don't know if you saw the whole Trey Turner thing in Philadelphia.
Yeah, what's going on there? He's like taking out billboards to apologize or something?
Yeah, basically we gave him $300 million, and then he hit $230 for us for about the first couple months of the season. So the Phillies fans try to do the opposite of being our scumbag selves. We tried to give him a standing ovation, right, to motivate him. And little Trey Turner that came in, hit an RBI, I think double or single his first day. And the next game he hit a go-ahead home run. So I would say this is pretty shocking. Maybe the times are changing in Philadelphia. I know we're one of those fan bases where you can win MVP like Joel Embiid and we'll boo the hell out of you. But if we give you $300 million and you can't hit a ball, we'll cheer for you. That's Trey Turner right now. So pretty wild times. And then I have my good friend Chad here told me he was a little underwhelmed by our NFC West podcast. This is a podcast in which I gave out 3 win totals and a 10-1 underdog. So it's all happening right now, Chad. I'm in midseason form of I'm fighting Chad right now. I'm hating the Phillies, and I just love August. It's the best time of year right now.
Simon, for this podcast, the stakes have never been higher. If we're talking about a division in which it's kind of underwhelming, I'm gonna say it out loud. Okay, I'm not gonna be afraid to tell the people what I'm feeling. I'm all about the feels. Like, for example, I feel people should like this video. I feel people should subscribe to the Action Network on YouTube. I feel that we are sponsored, proudly sponsored by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer. Bet $1 on any game and get $200 in bonus bets. You must be 21 or older. Offer is available in Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, and Iowa. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. I also feel, Simon, you know what time of year it is right now? In August. This might be why the Phillies are doing what they're doing and why you feel so good about what we're talking about. It's optimism season.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Dude, I get an alert every day. When I, as you know, back in the day, I was the editor-in-chief of ESPN, the magazine. I was the editor-in-chief of ESPN.com. And I would set alerts for the teams that I knew my bosses loved. So that way I would get an alert when we had news or a new story or a new video about the team that they loved. So I couldn't get a text or an email from them that said, hey, this just happened. Why didn't we get an alert about it? Right. So like I had alerts for Stanford and South Carolina and the Patriots and the Cowboys, all these teams that I really don't care about. So I still get some Patriots alerts. I forgot to disable it. Every day there's an alert. Patriots high on this, Patriots high on that. It's always the same thing. Like every single person, they just signed Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers is back with the team that he started with, and he played for 3 years and nobody cared, but he's back, right? So this week's Optimism season best line of the week. I read it yesterday. The Panthers are not concerned about all the interceptions that Bryce Young has been throwing because it's part of their plan for the early part of the preseason.
My favorite I saw was Green Bay had their first like open practice in their stadium, and this is a true quote by a beat writer. He said the Green Bay Packers have the fastest wide receiver tight end combination in all of football. The most irrelevant thing I've ever heard in my entire life, Chad. Green Bay Packers.
That's almost as hyperbolic as someone saying the Seattle Seahawks have the greatest combination of trio of wide receivers in NFL history.
You missed a might. I said might.
Matt
it's a
Mitchell,
big deal.
Matt
Fit that
Mitchell,
might in there.
We might have to play it back because I don't remember any might.
There's definitely a might or a maybe. There's an M in there.
No. This is the beauty of podcasting and YouTubing it. We've got the receipts. So I know for a fact there was no might. There was no qualifier. Because if there was, I would have been like, okay, I can live with it. It wouldn't have even registered. But there was nothing. It was just 3 guys, one of them named Lockett, one of them who's a rookie that we haven't seen play yet. They might be 2/3 of the greatest receiving core in NFL history.
So you just put a might in there. I definitely put a might in there.
You didn't. I did it because it was so
I'm a big
outrageous.
Might and maybe guy, or I say arguably.
My brain couldn't even say it without including a qualifier.
Exactly. So I mean, it was 5 a.m, but I'm almost positive I put a qualifier in there.
All right. Well, we'll see. Also, I do want to say this. This is not going to be the NFC North preview, but I will say that we've reached peak Bears euphoria because this morning on ESPN.com, top of the homepage, it's a story from our friend Bill Barnwell, friend of the podcast, players who might take the leap. And we're going to talk about some in our NFC North preview we're doing next week and also in the AFC South that we're doing today. But they have a Bears player on the top of the homepage. Players mentioned in this story include Trevor Lawrence and Garrett Wilson. The player that is at the top of the homepage is Jaquan Brisker. So that tells you everything you need to know about how much hype the Bears are getting. Even ESPN.com knows you want to sell page views right now, you put the Bears at the top of the homepage.
I was going to say, it feels like every fantasy magazine either has Hurts on the cover or Fields. It's like, put a star quarterback in one of the major 4 or 5 cities and people are going to buy it. So I'm in total agreement with you, Chad. It feels like everywhere I look, it's just Bears.
Yeah. Could be time to fade the Bears.
Not yet.
All right. We're talking about the AFC South. As we've discussed, like, this is a division. It's really hard to care about it, which makes betting on it all the more important because it's the only reason to really want to watch any of these teams. Obviously, we loved the Jags last year. We heavily invested in the Jags in every way, and it paid off for us. We also love Mike Vrabel. He's one of those coaches that consistently covers as an underdog, outcoaches people. We're huge fans. You loved Anthony Richardson. You thought he was one of the best players in the draft. You were super excited the Colts drafted him. And then you got the Texans. And they got CJ Stroud, and they're bringing up the rear. So,
and Will Anderson. You got to mention for the rest of our lives, you have to mention CJ Stroud and Will Anderson together. Because who knows what they're thinking, giving up an extra first-round pick for this kid, Will Anderson, but they literally need this kid to be Nick Bosa.
Yeah, I have Will Anderson listed in my my defensive notes for the Houston Texans. Let's start at the top here. Jags -160. No, thank you. To win the division.
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions on the Jaguars. I'm going to try not to be such a homer with these picks just because I think fans of the show last year know I have a very special place in my heart for this Jaguars team. Not only did they cover this division for us, Chad, they came all the way back. They were left for dead. I was losing tons and tons of money on them through the middle of the season, and they completely flipped it. They went 2-0 covering in the playoffs. They covered their first game against the Chargers, and they covered against the Chiefs, which You can look it up. Doug Peterson, I believe, is 6-0 now, or maybe it's 7-0 against the spread in the playoffs. It's something crazy like that. It's a team I love, and I'm not going to lie to you, Chad. I'm going to be betting on them to take that next step. Like it's all there. The big weakness for them right now is their offensive line. They still have some questions on their defense. But offensively, they have the running back, they have the wide receivers, and they have the quarterback, and they have the head coach. So this is a team that I will be throwing a little bit on them to be the number one record in the NFL, which most books you can get at 35-1, 30-1, 25-1. I believe they are 28-1 for Super Bowl. Don't really love that value. I feel like it should be a little higher just because we talked about the AFC is just it's literally a juggernaut. Like it's the greatest group of quarterbacks we've ever seen on one conference in the history of the NFL. So I was hoping to get a little better odds, but I think the pros bet that down. So it makes sense it's at 28-1 right now, but I feel like Chad nailed it there. We're not going to take these guys division. Like a team coming up, Chad knows exactly who we're going to take division-wise. But right now as we sit here, I've made probably a handful of little bets on the Jaguars to win this division. But it's all these parlays, right? If I think them and the Bills are going to both win their division, I won't just bet them straight up. I'll probably throw a little parlay of them together. That's how I like to do it with these teams that are favored to win their divisions. But for me, my biggest Jaguars bet right now is them to be the number one seed and have the best record of football. I just think that's where the value is. When you're in a division that has two rookie quarterbacks and a team in Tennessee that just a month ago we thought they were rebuilding, and then they went out and got Hopkins, and they haven't traded Tannehill, and it seems like, okay, they're going to try and make another run with this core group they have in Tennessee. You know, that makes me want to adjust things, but not so much that I still don't think they could be the one seed. Just when we look at all these other divisions, Chad, there is a clear drop-off in this division compared to the other ones. So to me, the Jaguars, if they can't run away with this division, if they can't hit this over, right, I think, what is it, 9.5 win total?
9.5 minus 140. Is the
and
over.
I think that's one of the most bet overs right now, all the sports books. I'm going to take it. I got them at 10.7, so that means I have over 10.5 wins. So I'll take the over of 9.5. It's just there's not crazy value there. The secret's out, right, Chad? Everyone knows about this Jaguars team. Everyone's been talking about Calvin Ridley. So we'll take our scraps here. We'll take what we can. But, yeah, I think you nailed off the top saying we're not betting these guys to win this division. It's just there's no value there.
Well, look, when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, I was talking about Bill Barnwell had this story at ESPN on ESPN.com today, ranking players he thinks can make the leap from Pro Bowler to superstar, from, starter to Pro Bowler, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's got 3 players in that highest level. One of them is Trevor Lawrence. And so we all expect big things out of Trevor Lawrence. We thought it would happen last year because remember, we also bet Trevor Lawrence to lead the league in touchdown passes, and at least I did. And the one thing that he needed to tighten up was his accuracy in the red zone. He missed so many open receivers, made so many bad throws on easy touchdowns early in the year. So I would expect that is something that, since he did get better at that over the course of the year, he will be locked in on that. You already mentioned Tennessee. That's the next one up. By the way, the Jags have according to Sean Kerner, the 9th easiest schedule in the NFL. Obviously, it's correlated to the fact that, in their division are the Titans, the Colts, and the Texans. Trevor Lawrence is in Kerner's number 3 tier for quarterbacks. And what's interesting is their O-line ranking and their D-line ranking, according to Pro Football Focus, relatively low. Like their O-line ranking is 26th. They lost Jawan Taylor to Kansas City, and he was their best offensive lineman last year. And look, like they had 3 rushers in PFF's top 50, but only Josh Allen comes back. And so there's a lot of question marks about where they're going to get a pass rush. So when we're thinking about them at 9.5 over 9.5, we're really playing against the schedule and the fact that they have so little competition in their division. Tennessee gets interesting to me. Tennessee is at 7.5 to minus 110 over and under, plus 320. Nobody wants to bet on Tennessee. Everyone thinks Ryan Tannehill, not the guy. I think Tennessee, the team, like if we're talking about the division bet that we want to make, I'm betting on Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans.
Yep, it's the only bet. There's no other bet to make. And it's one of those where the only reason I'm not loading up on it and firing away on it is my fear of they do trade Tannehill. That's my biggest fear right now, is that they are going to move him at some point, because you can't not look at the draft equity they've put out in the quarterback position. They used a 3rd-round pick and a 2nd-round pick the last 2 years on 2 different quarterbacks. And, I know for a fact they tried moving Tannehill during the draft during this offseason. It didn't work out. And on paper, it looks like they're supporting him, bringing in Hopkins. But isn't that also something you would do with a young quarterback? You'd bring in a veteran receiver like Hopkins. So it is tough to read this whole scenario because the number is weird. Plus 320, Chad. It feels like that's a gift. Like, why isn't this plus 200? Like, if you look at the odds from last year, it was Tennessee and the Colts were both, I think, minus 110 to win this division, and the Jags were at 8-1. Now, Chad just gave you what's going on with the Jaguars. They lost their best offensive lineman. They did gain a Calvin Ridley, right? And they gained some experience. They should be better. But is Tennessee that much worse than they were last year? Not at all. So that's what really pops out to me, is we're getting really good value right now in Tennessee. My worry is, again, going back to this Falcons thing, this kid Riddler plays the preseason. He can't connect anything. I just would be shocked if they didn't make a move for a Tannehill type. If a quarterback goes down on some team, Tannehill is available. Someone might trade for him just because he is still good. Like I think Chad talked about, he is still a quarterback where is he ever going to be top 10? No, that ship has totally sailed on this guy's career. But can he be a top 20, top 15 when everything's going right and he has weapons around him? Yeah, we've seen that from Tannehill before. So this is one of those where I wish I could come in here and chat and be like, bet this division right now, bet them win total over right now. I think you can wait. I honestly think you can wait a little bit here and see what goes on in this preseason. So this is one of those bets where I know I'm going to make. I know me and Chad are going to be on them week 1 as well. If they're plus 3.5 against the Saints. But as we sit here right now, Chad, I don't want to put my money on a team. I just don't know what their future is going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
There's so many factors with this team that are interesting, right? Because we have Mike Vrabel, who is one of those coaches. We've talked about this. You could say Vrabel, Belichick, Harbaugh, Sean Payton being back, Mike Tomlin, who you are going to automatically give that team a little bit extra credit. And I don't think that gets accounted for by bookmakers, in any significant way, right? They're not giving Mike Vrabel coach teams an extra half a point because he's such a good decision maker and he's so good at coaching up his team. So if you are thinking about Vrabel, you always get a little bit of an advantage because he is so much better than other coaches, especially when he's an underdog. Think about Tannehill. When he had A.J. Brown, when he had Derrick Henry at full strength, very serviceable quarterback. It's when you were putting the ball in his hand, and you saw that in the playoffs a couple of years ago when the Titans had the best record in the AFC, but they couldn't advance to the playoffs because the ball was in Tannehill's hands to win a game. He can't do that. Doesn't mean he's not a good quarterback. To your point, their defense is underrated. Like they've got a top 10 100%. Defense. And so to me, it's what you just said, and there's one other factor. Worst, number 32, offensive line in the NFL per Pro Football Focus. So
That's fair.
I think that's one of the bigger issues. And you and I both like to grade. That's why I'm including these offensive line and defensive line grades when we're talking about these teams, because their offensive line is terrible. Obviously didn't improve from last year. Couldn't have been much worse. So yeah, they didn't get much worse, but the things that are bad are things that are concerning.
But once again, they can get away with that in this division. Like the best the best
Yes.
defensive player right now in this division might be a rookie in Will Anderson. Like that might be the best DN they face this season inside their own division. Where the Colts have players, and you know the Tennessee team, Chad. I feel like you nailed it. Where I didn't mention it enough. Where their D line is good. Their defense is going to be much better than people realize from last year, and they have Burks on the outside, Hopkins on the outside, and they have Derrick Henry in the backfield. Like that's a really good offensive unit right there of weapons. So every point you just said is very fair, but that offensive line thing is definitely a glaring issue where if they're behind, you need Tannehill to drop back and pass, and they're playing against a team that just has 2 good pass rushers, it's over. They're not going to be coming back, right? So definitely a team that needs a lead to win games.
It's actually interesting because that whole division, there's no O-line that is
good,
graded out very high, and there's no D-line other than theirs that is grading out very high. So fascinating division of mediocrity and irrelevance, as I've been saying, forever about any team in the AFC South. That brings us to the Indianapolis Colts, who are plus 600 to win the division. They are at 6.5 wins, minus 125 to the over. Your favorite player in the NFL, Anthony Richardson. You think he will end up being the best player out of this draft class. You're enamored by his athleticism. I will tell you that Sean Kerner already has Anthony Richardson. We're talking about fantasy tiers. In tier 5, he says, Sean Kerner, and you can read this at actionnetwork.com, he has top 10 upside as soon as he becomes a starter.
Yep.
Which kind of goes with what you've been saying.
And if you listen to, we had on Chris and Sean, what was it, a month ago, talking fantasy. He was being drafted at QB 15 at that time, Anthony Richardson. And I said I would take him well above that just because his upside was so high. Now, if you look, most drafts, he's going top 10. So this past offseason was the first time I ever did consulting work for an NFL team. Chad knows this. And I basically, when I went in there in January and I said this was my guy, my number 1 QB to draft, I basically could hear a pin drop, Chad. Not laughed out of the room. It was more like, who the hell is this guy? Why are we paying him? And why is he telling us to draft this kid who most teams had a 2nd-round grade on him? So this is one of these moments where I really enjoy doing consulting work. Like working for these NFL teams was cool as shit. So I'm hoping this kid pans out because I really am tied to him now. Like if he is good and the team I worked for, the QB they drafted is not good, that's really good for me because I was so big on this kid and no one else there was. Like literally these people looked at me like I was crazy when I mentioned his name. So I'm going to be biased about Anthony Richardson. I can already tell everything he's done in this preseason, Chad, is what I envisioned. A big body, big, strong arm, great athlete. Everything about him just reminded me of a smarter, faster version of Cam Newton. And it's looking that way right now. So I don't know if you remember Cam Newton's rookie year. It was historical. Now, do I think he's going to do that? Most likely not. We've never seen anything like that. I think Cam threw for 4,000 yards. The big reason was Cam had Steve Smith. Like, if you're going to bring in a rookie quarterback and have a Hall of Famer wide receiver with him, Steve Smith was the guy to do it with, right? That was a perfect 1-2 for Cam Newton. Anthony Richardson, man, I am beyond hyped about this kid. Like, I think someone put up his numbers the other day. He's 6'4", and he wants to play at 250. 6'4", playing at 250, and he can run a sub-4 440. It's crazy. I can't believe he wasn't the 1st or 2nd quarterback drafted, but it's irrelevant now. The deed is done. He's on the Colts, and the Colts head coach, he did wonders with Jalen Hurts, and now he's getting Anthony Richardson, an even bigger, better athlete. Now, to me, it's a 3-year plan with Anthony Richardson. Do I think he's going to come out this year and make major mistakes? Of course. This kid is just raw. He is a raw ball of talent. So I'm not betting on them to win the division. I won't waste money there. Me and Chad already talked about it. It's going to either be Tennessee or nothing for me in this division. But with the Colts, 6.5 over-under wins, I like the value towards the over. To me, this is a team that could easily get to 7-8 wins this upcoming season just because we talked about this division has a lot of holes in it. And Chad knows we bet the Jaguars last year. The Jaguars do not perform well on the road. That's just not something they did well these last couple of years. They start the season on the road against the Colts. That is a huge deal in a division like this, where if the Colts can just steal that first game, Chad, I love their odds to shift for them going over to this win total. So when it first opened, I thought 6.5 was really high. The more I looked into it, the more even Chad just talked about this division, all the weaknesses these different teams have. I could easily see the Colts squeaking out 7 wins. So to me, if my favorite win total bet right now is this one for this division, just because there's so much upside in a team that last year was just a down year. And I know people are worried about what's going on right now with the running back and Taylor. Is he going to be back? You would be shocked to know that the team actually performs better without Taylor on the field. Who knows if that would be different this year now with another running quarterback, but I think Anthony Richardson is going to make up for a lot of weaknesses they had last year on this offense. So, yeah, you can tell, Chad, I'm excited about this kid. So, if you want to bet rookie of the year with me, offensive rookie of the year, I also love that bet as well. I just think this kid has the highest upside of any of these other quarterbacks. But as we sit here right now, I can't bet them divisional odds. The gap between them, Tennessee and the Jaguars, is still pretty big. So I still think those two are much, much higher up. If they gave me 10-1, I would think about it. But yeah, at the current 6-1 odds for them to win this division, that's not fair. Give us better odds, sports books.
I want to quickly remind people that you've heard us talk a lot about Game Time all off season long. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the United States. I love Game Time. Honestly, I use it all the time. And if you're looking to get out to a pro college game this week or even a concert, Game Time has amazing, I emphasize amazing last minute deals on tickets to all of these. I'm actually opening the Game Time app right now from my house. And why do I emphasize amazing? Because you can go see Pete Alonso and the amazing New York Mets for $6 tonight.
That's
Get in price, $6. Come on, Pete Alonso, jacking homers. No matter where you live, download the Game Time app, get out and have some fun this week. You deserve it. And you can redeem code favorites for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, just download the app and earn code favorites for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. No joke. You guys know how much I love Game Time. I have two more things to say about the Indianapolis Colts. Number one, you hit the nail on the head about week one. How many years we've been doing this together? 3-4 years. Every year, do we not identify the week one value bet that makes everyone sick to their stomach, that nobody wants to bet because you are taking, you are fading the overhyped team for the team that you're afraid might not win any games? Normally, that game is the Jags as huge underdogs against the Colts. This year, it could be the Colts as underdogs against the Jags. And then you know what we'll immediately do? We will immediately see how divisional odds change or anything else changes for the Jacksonville Jaguars and see if we can get any value, right? Because they will have lost a game, and that's what you start to do. You start to plan ahead. You think about the investment opportunity. You got to be considering that.
And that's what stinks, though, is the books have gotten smarter where just 4 or 5 years ago, this line would have been 7.5. Like the books would have happily put up this 7.5. The public would have still been all over the Jaguars. They would have the Jaguars in all their teasers, but they're just smart now. I mean, 3.5, 3. Yeah, Chad just nailed it. Everyone and their grandma is going to be betting on the Jaguars, and me and Chad are going to hold our nose and just take the Colts. And I hate taking a rookie head coach or a rookie QB in week one, but this is just prime example of you just got to hold your nose and take this team. Divisional home dog, week one. I believe it hits at over 6% rate historically. So, again, we'll have more trends as we get closer to week one, but this is just one of those plays. We don't have a choice. Like me and Chad, we'll make bets all season where we had no other option to take set side. This is one of them. You're getting a Colts team at the lowest value point of the season, Jaguars team at the peak value of the season. Even though the season just started, this is like literally peak value of the Jaguars team.
Betting means doing ugly things. It's never too early to remind people of that. They're going to be doing it with us all season long. The other thing I'll say about the Colts, so their O-line, according to PFF, is 10th best in the NFL. And Quentin Nelson is still considered their best offensive lineman. But he was dominant for 3 years and has been subpar for the past 2 years.
Injuries.
So I want to say one thing. I want to make sure that we don't start to think of Quentin Nelson as Jeremy Shockey. Remember Shockey when he came into the league? And in those preseason games, he had a couple beatdowns of players where he just steamrolled them. And because it happened and, for the time went what we consider to be viral. And so he became a player that everyone thought was going to be the next great tight end. Are Quentin Nelson's expectations so much higher because he had those pancake videos for the first 2 or 3 years of his career, and he's since been injured, and now the expectation is he's not as good as he was, or maybe he was never as good as he was portrayed because of the combination of how well he was playing early on and those videos.
I just remember when he first came in the league, I'm almost positive it was rookie year. The Eagles played against him, and he blocked up Fletcher Cox one-on-one. And I was like, holy shit, who is this rookie right now for this Colts team? But I love your Shockey point. I feel like the Shockey thing is a classic. If you're a white guy with tattoos and long hair and you had a great name, you're going to be successful in the early 2000s. People are going to be about it. And, he played at the U, and he just had a great name. Shockey was literally the best name. I don't know why. It doesn't even sound that cool now that I keep saying it, but at the time, I remember thinking, this guy is cool as shit. Shockey.
He was cool. We put him on the cover of ESPN the magazine, and when it was over, I'm like, I think we just put a guy in the cover for having a good preseason game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was that was basically it. All right, on to the Houston Texans, and you make a good point. They're plus 800. Their season win total is 5.5, which good for the Texans. It's actually higher than it's been the past couple of years, and we were still betting the under 4.5. CJ Stroud, I was a huge CJ Stroud fan. I think it's very possible he will end up grading out as a better NFL player than Bryce Young. I just like his body type and I like his game better. I think there's more opportunity for him to last longer. Here's what's really interesting to me about the Houston Texans. They may have the best lineman in the NFL in Laramie Tunsil. And if you had said to me on draft night of whatever year Laramie Tunsil was drafted,
yeah,
that he was going to grade out as one of the best linemen in the NFL and get massive deals and be a guy that people are thinking about trading for and giving up first-round picks for, I would have lost that bet.
Yeah, those were the days, man, when people were scared of football players smoking weed. Those were the days, Chad.
Well, they were scared of football players smoking weed in what looked like a combination of alien Bane masks. It wasn't the weed so much as it was like the full-on mask effect that I think really got people anxious.
You never did a gas mask, Chad?
No, Simon. I didn't do the fucking gas mask.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those where that was like just a hilarious thing to do. The fact that he took a video of himself, sent it to people, and then was shocked that someone released it on the night he was supposed to get drafted. Not at all, but yeah, I'll go quick on Houston. They gave up their next year's first round pick to take a D end. Not good. Not a good, smart move. Now, when you're saying if he works out right, if he is Nick Bosa, okay, maybe we will forgive them down the road. But as we sit here right now, it just won't make sense to me that they gave up that for a D end. Like, you got your franchise quarterback. I know for a fact that Jim was pissed off and made that move because he goes, fine, if I'm making this move for the owner, I want to make my own move and make my own stamp on this team. So, CJ, we were in lockstep with that, Chad. I think you had him as your number one quarterback in this draft. Only first-round grades I had graded out was on him and Anthony Richardson. I had a second-round grade on, Will Levis. Say what you want about him. He did go in the second round. I think Tennessee said they would have traded up. And Bryce Young, I'm on an island there, clearly. Most scouts I talked to had a first-round grade on him. I just couldn't get past his height and his weight. To me, that's just not it's not built for longevity in this league. So if Houston wants to cross this 5.5, they need CJ to have a really, really good first year there. And I just don't think they have the pieces around him right now. Like his best weapon on offense, his wide receiver wise, might be a kid named Tank, who they took in, I think, the 3rd or 4th round. That's not really great for a rookie.
Tank is not a name. Tank is what you do.
Tank? Tank?
Get it? Tank is what you do.
I was like, you had me there for a second. Yeah, just 175-1 for them to win the Super Bowl is all you need to know about this team. So won't be touching any of their Super Bowl futures. Division odds, again, they're only 8-1. That's the same odds we had in late August on that Jaguars team last year. I don't get why this isn't 15-1, 16-1. It's a weird number the book's hanging here with this team. So no value there either. Just value on the under. This is a team that I just don't see them getting to 4 or 5 wins. They feel like another 3-win season for them. And I think next year's a year they'll make the jump, right? They have a lot of young talent on this team. They have a new rookie head coach. Next year's the year, Houston. So this is another low total I'm going to be taking the under on.
Yeah. I love D'Amico Ryans. I'm a huge fan. I feel like he's going to do great things with this team. I want Will Anderson to do so well. I have so much enthusiasm and I like everybody. I'm rooting for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to bet them. I'm going to bet them every week because every week they're going to be big underdogs. And last year they did the right thing. They tried to win. They did the right thing. The Bears got the number 1 overall pick. Good for them. We appreciate it.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know. Totally. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is proudly presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer. Bet $1 on any game and get $200 in bonus bets. Must be 21 or older. Offer is available in Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, and Iowa. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's recap here for a second. So in the AFC South, we like the Titans at plus 320. We like the Jags over 9.5 wins, but no value in terms of the pricing because the over is right now minus 140. Again, all these numbers are from Bet365. And we probably like Houston under 5.5 wins. Also, a lot of juice at minus 160.
Yeah, so I would say my favorite bet right now is the Colts over win total. But
right, Colts over 6.5 wins.
Also love Anthony Richardson, rookie of the year. I just think if he can flash and he can really show out, he has the best chance of really just taking the world by storm. Like we love the athletic, fun to watch quarterback. I mean, Justin Fields, right off the top of the head, is that kind of guy. Like I can't stop watching Justin Field highlights. I feel like I'm gonna have the same effect here with Anthony Richardson.
This has been the AFC South Divisional Preview from the Favorites podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Action Network. I am Chad Millman. He is Simon Hunter. Download the podcast from Apple Podcasts, from Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you.